Pavlov classical conditioning theory. Let's get started. Who is Pavlov? He was a famous Russian psychologist. He lived from 1849 until 1936, created the classical conditioning theory, famous with behavioral with dogs, won Nobel Prize in Psychology in 1904. What is Pavlov classical conditioning theory? Let's take a look. The bell is a conditioned stimulus. When the bell rings, there will be no salivation from the dog. Now, the food is an unconditioned stimulus. When the food is presented, the dog responded by salivating. This is called unconditioned response. What happened if both stimulus are combined? Ring the bell first, then present the food to the dog. The dog will salivate. Repeat the cycle for multiple times. Now the bell is no longer a conditioned stimulus. The dog will start to salivate by the sound of the bell alone without the presence of the food. This is what we call a conditioned response. Hey you, are you salivating? Gotcha! If you are salivating, it means you have been conditioned. There are 5 types of classical conditioning theory. There are 2 types of forward conditioning. The first one is delay conditioning, in which both stimulus are overlapped. The buzzer will sound for 5 seconds and the air will be puffed within the 5 seconds. The conditioned response: the eyes will close upon the sound of the buzzer even though there is no more air being puffed. While for trace conditioning, both stimulus are not overlapped. The air will only be puffed after buzzer sound ended. The conditioned response: the eyes will close after the buzzer stopped, even though there is no more air being puffed. Simultaneous conditioning is when both stimulus start simultaneously. The conditioned response: the eyes will close upon the sound of the buzzer. Second and higher order conditioning is the presence of 2 conditioned stimulus. Usually, there is only 1 conditioned stimulus and 1 unconditioned stimulus. Now the buzzer is the first conditioned stimulus, then a bulb is added as the second conditioned stimulus. The conditioned response: the subject will react to both stimulus. Backward conditioning is when conditioned stimulus comes after unconditioned stimulus have been presented, in which conditioning is unlikely to occur. In temporal conditioning, an unconditioned stimulus is presented at regular intervals. Conditioned response tends to occur shortly before each unconditioned stimulus. What will happen if conditioned stimulus is not followed by the presence of the unconditioned stimulus repeatedly? Extinction will occur, in which the conditioning fades. But if the unconditioned stimulus appears in a cycle again, the conditioning will get stronger again.
Created using Powtoon.